Hello, hello, hello. This is Rich Kale here on YouTube, Rich Gen X elsewhere, Richard of the Classic Gamers Guild on Facebook, and it is time to return to Victorian England as we continue the search for Jack the Ripper. Now, let's see, last time we had gone after the imposing Jack the Ripper. And we just found out there was another murderer, and we're just going to reenact it. Alright. Line and cart builder. Happening here. Nobody's around? Okay, let's go check it out. Yep, there's the scene of the crime.
The interrogation of P.C. Smith has proven to be very shrewd and of great interest. Thanks to the information I've managed to gather and that you were able to read in my notes in Baker Street, Watson, we can recreate what happened that fateful night at this location, Dutfield's Yards to be precise, the site of Liz Stride's murder.
Okay, let's see. So we have a whole slew of events here. So we have a meeting at the club. Happens at midnight, which is right here.
Midnight, the Socialist Club meeting ends. The members, mainly Jewish men, gradually begin to leave the club in little groups or alone.
Okay. The American goes out for some air. No one else is in the street at about here.
12:20 a.m., the American leaves the Socialists Club for some fresh air. The street is deserted.
P.C. Smith sees Liz Stride, and it's between 12:30 and 12:35.
12:30 to 12:35 a.m., Smith notices Liz Stride talking to the man with the package.
Now, we have this event here at 12:40.
12:40 a.m., Eagle, the president of the club, enters the workers' club via the passageway through Dutfield's Yard. He passed through Dutfield's Yard. If Liz Stride had already been killed, he would have had to walk over her. The murder, therefore, had not yet happened.
12:43.
12:43 a.m., Israel Swartz passes by Dutfield's Yard and witnesses the attack on Liz Stride. 12:44 a.m., Schwartz crosses to the other side of the road. The attacker sees him and yells, "Lipsky." The attacker must have shouted to his accomplice at the end of the road, "Lipsky," indicating at Schwartz using his head in an attempt to scare off this undesirable.
Then runs off.
12:45 a.m., Schwartz runs away, followed for a short distance by this man.
And then we have one wanting to enter.
1 a.m., Mr. Diemschutz wants to enter with his cart, but the pony refuses. We know that the murder took place between 12:45 and 1 a.m. Mr. Diemschutz, therefore, must have disturbed the killer. Let's place Liz Stride's murder on the timeline, Watson.
Indeed. Which would put it right in here.
12:45 to 1 a.m., the murder of Liz Stride. It took place in this very spot, as the traces of blood were very confined. We will come back to this point in a few moments to elaborate on what could have happened. Well, we are still missing certain information in order to finish this investigation, Watson.
Yep. This is where she died.
Watson, imagine the victim laid down there on the ground.
Alright. Ah!
The throat, there is one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards. The ground is muddy.
Good to know. And her right hand, yeah, that's her right hand.
Her right hand, it is bloody as is her wrist.
Interesting.
Her left hand, it is closed around a bag of pastils. Her knees and dress, they are clean.
All interesting facts. So let's... Alright. First off, the ground is dirty. The ground is dirty, but the knees, they were clean. Which means the victim didn't struggle on the ground. Which means they were upright. And judging by the... yeah. Alright. The wound of the neck is clean, starting from the right and slightly oblique and descending. Which means the blow was given with her right hand. And that was the only wound. Oof. Or struck from his height. Okay, so what we have here. Murder is strong. And let's see. Killer's right-handed and killer definitely a strong man. Carotid wasn't slit. Carotid artery. So she must have... she put her hand to her throat. Her blade was thin.
We have two possibilities. The first is that Liz Stride's killer and the attacker, seen by Schwartz, were one and the same man. The second is that Liz Stride meets a client. After some discussion, they head towards Dutfield's yard to do their business. As soon as they arrive, the attacker appears while his accomplice keeps watch. Schwartz's arrival dissuades the two men from lingering. They leave the area and leave Liz Stride in a tense state, but glad to have kept her client. He will be her murderer.
Wow.
Both hypotheses are possible, but an incongruous detail will serve to corroborate one of them. An incongruous detail that we were able to establish regarding the Hanbury Street murder. Which one would that be, Watson? Look at the victim carefully, Watson, and tell me the link between the murder of Liz Stride and those of Nichols and Chapman.
Okay.
The bag of pastils, Holmes.
A bag of pastils. Indeed, Watson. If this woman had to defend herself against an attacker, why would she have held onto this bag in her hand? It didn't fall because this woman's hand tensed at the moment when she fell to the ground. Therefore, Watson, we know the killer distracted his victim's attention by making them take something out of their pockets. Why didn't he slit her throat like the others? He must have feared a struggle with this strong-willed woman. Why didn't he eviscerate her? Because Louis Diemschutz arrived.
Do you think the Whitechapel killer is behind this murder, Holmes?
Yes, and now this murder has been linked to its rightful perpetrator, it will take on deeper meaning when we have examined the facts from that night. Let's go to Mitre Square, where Catherine Eddowes was killed. And make haste, Watson, as we have another murder to commit in 40 minutes.
Wait, what?
Here we are, Watson, Mitre Square. It took us a mere 20 minutes to get here. If the killer left Dutfield's yard around 1 o'clock, as we assume, he would have arrived here at around 1:20 a.m.
Ah.
We know that Catherine Edow's body was discovered at 1:44 a.m. Catherine was released from prison around 1 o'clock, but we have no information as to what she could have been doing until her death. This place has 3 possible ways out. Let's see where they lead.
Oh.
As a precaution, I brought an old map of the area with me. It will help us get our bearings.
Let's hurry, Holmes. This neighborhood makes me ill at ease.
Okay. Okay. So we got St. James Passage, Church Passage, Imperial Club. Okay. Okay. Ah. Ta-da.
Take the lantern, Watson.
Okay, we have the... Face the square.
Church Passage. It must be opposite the Imperial Club at 16 to 17 Duke Street. Let's go to the end of this lane, Watson.
Oh.
Hello, you must be Abraham Solomonovich, am I right?
Yes, that's me. But I know you. You brought a lad to my place to take care of a cat, and I loaned you my mask.
That's me. May I present?
Dr. Watson, of course. Delighted. And you? I have known for a few days that you are a detective by the name of Sherlock Holmes. Is that so?
Yeah.
You don't miss a thing, do you? It was the children who gave me away, am I right?
They didn't want to, but I gained their confidence by offering them a small comb and half a cake.
They made a good deal out of it, so I don't blame them. However, I must request, as a personal favor, that you do not reveal my identity.
You have my word. Curiosity is just killing me, as you may have guessed. Would it be breaking an oath to confide in me the nature of the investigation that you are leading?
I don't think so.
Does this spot where we are now in Mitre Square mean anything to you?
A demon lives in this city, Mr. Holmes. These unmentionable acts degrade the human race and put the Jewish community in terrible danger.
Lots of rumours are circulating, but they are but rumours. I see you're leaving the Imperial Club. It's a stone's throw away from Mitre Square, and the 2 recent murders were most probably discussed in there. Do you know if anyone from the club saw or heard anything that night?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, 3 members of our club saw a woman talking to a man at the very spot where we are standing, a few minutes before the body was found at the end of this passage. Fantastic, Holmes.
Calm yourself, Watson. There is nothing at the moment to suggest it was the victim. Can we meet these members?
I am afraid that won't be possible. As soon as the police heard the evidence of these men, they were sworn to silence.
I understand.
But you are working for the good, and I must tell you what I know. One of the 3 men, my friend Joseph, left that night with 2 other members of the Imperial Club, Harry and another Joseph. It was around 1:35 a.m., perhaps a bit earlier, when Joseph, not my friend, but the other, the Aldgate butcher, exited. he saw a man and a woman in discussion at this very spot where we are.
These men must have been about 16 feet away from the couple.
That's about right. So Joseph, the butcher, said to the other two, while pointing at the couple, "Look, I don't like going home alone when I see this kind of people here." My friend Joseph looked at them without noticing anything strange and didn't understand what he meant. They had the look of two rather unkempt people, but no more than that.
After the murder, did these three men tell the police what they had seen?
Not quite. Harry stated that he hadn't seen the couple. As for Joseph, the butcher, even though he was the one who commented on them and pointed them out, said that he couldn't remember anything except that the man was about 3 inches taller than the woman, who was 5 feet tall, no more. My friend Joseph, on the other hand, did his best to cooperate with the police.
Interesting.
And what did your friend Joseph say? What did this man and woman look like?
The man must have been 30 years old, about 5 foot 7 inches, light complexion, and a fair moustache. He wore a loose, dark jacket, a grey cap, and a red scarf around his neck. But he said that he only saw him for a brief instant, and it would be impossible to recognize him.
And the woman?
He only saw her from behind. She had her hand on the man's stomach and seemed to be pushing him. He said that he remembered that she was small, was wearing a black jacket and a black bonnet. After his testimony, the police took him to see the clothing of the deceased, and Joseph said that they looked identical to those of the woman he had seen.
Oh, my.
Like I already said, he only glanced at the two, as he was headed with the others in the direction of Aldgate.
One final question. The Imperial Club is a Jewish club, isn't that correct?
Indeed.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Solomonovich.
It was nothing. We must at all cost prevent this demon from striking again.
Indeed.
And the police seem to have some difficulty in doing that. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Holmes.
Okay. Well, we found out more information.
This building is the Great Synagogue of London.
Yes, it is.
Closed.
Of course, it's closed. Okay. Well, my phone's ringing, but I'm not answering it just yet. Let's see, head over here, I believe.
This is Mitre Street, from where Watkins, the constable who found the body, came.
Yeah.
Nothing of interest here.
Okay. So only one other way to go. St. James. I guess this is St. James Passage. Yep, St. James Passage.
This dark and narrow passage leads to St. James's Place. Well, let's find the spot where Edow's body was discovered.
Okay. So, where was the body discovered? Ah, here
Watson,
it was.
we are now in the exact spot where poor Eddowes tragically ended her days.
This spot is very dark, Holmes.
That is probably why our murderer chose it.
Yeah, would make sense.
Do these objects spread out by the victim remind us of anything, Watson? head is turned towards the left. The murderer must have been on the right side of his victim. Let's look at her from the front. The nose was cut.
Yeah.
The eyelids were cut off.
Oh my god. This one's
There
brutal.
is but one wound, Watson. It goes from the left side and descends in a slight oblique towards the right side. The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner. The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner.
Oh my god.
The main incision goes from the sternum all the way down to the groin. The murderer opened this abdomen as if it were an animal carcass. A kidney was removed. The uterus was removed. The main incision goes from the... A kidney was removed. The uterus was removed.
Yeah, we got that, Sherlock.
These intestines were pulled out altogether to grant access to the abdomen.
Oh my god, that's brutal.
A thimble is located right beside one of the victim's hands, just like Chapman's sachet of pills and Stride's pastils. The main incision goes from the sternum all the way down to the groin. The murderer opened this abdomen as if it were an animal carcass.
Oh
The
my
kidney
goodness.
was removed. The uterus was removed.
Man, this is...
Part of this apron is missing. We will follow up on that shortly. The inside of the thighs is clean. Once again, there were no sexual relations between the victim and her murderer.
Well, that's everything.
My goodness, Holmes, it was a slaughter.
Indeed.
Understand, Watson, that our killer had neither the time nor the conditions to bother with the niceties. He had no more than 7 or 8 minutes at most to kill the woman, open her up, and all the while in total darkness.
Holmes, it's a woman, a poor victim you're talking about.
Yeah.
Consider all the time this man lost and the risks that he actually took by cutting the victim's face and the lower abdomen in around 20 precise spots, especially the lungs and the liver. These attacks, which I considered gratuitous, are in fact nothing of the sort, and have as much sense as the removal of the organs. Watson, we must now consult our timeline. We began in Dutfield's yard, but this time we will try to recreate the actions of certain people, in this case, those of the 2 policemen.
Okay. Oof. Boy, that was disturbing. Okay. So this happened at 1:30 here.
1:30 a.m. P.C. Watkins didn't see the corpse while on his rounds. If P.C. Watkins did his rounds properly, and there is no reason to doubt this was the case, as he discovered the corpse a quarter of an hour later, the murder hadn't yet taken place, and there was no one in Mitre Square, unless they were hidden among the shadows. Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Edow's corpse was.
Let's see this. Okay.
Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Edow's corpse was.
I may have to switch perspective here. Hold on. Let's see. Okay.
I see you, Holmes.
Perfect, Watson.
Yeah.
Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
Okay, so now we had...
Very good, Watson. Thus we can categorically state that the murder had not yet occurred at 1:30.
Indeed. So 1:35.
1:35 a.m. A man and a woman are arguing at the entrance of Church Passage. The man came from Aldgate. 1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives in Mitre Square. It should be noted, Watson, that the constable didn't enter Mitre Square. He could not have seen the corpse lying on the ground. But would he have been able to see a man sitting or standing? Go to the Church Passage entrance, then come back and try to see me while holding your lantern. I will stay at the spot where the victim was discovered.
Okay, again.
I see you, Holmes.
You had to proceed into the square in order to see me, something Harvey didn't do. It is possible that the killer was still there. 1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives at Mitre Square, but does not go in. The murderer may well have still been there.
Indeed.
1:44 a.m. The body is discovered.
Indeed.
Let's put the murder of poor Eddowes on the timeline, Watson.
So we figure that her murder...
1:35 and 1:42 a.m. The murder would appear to have taken place between these times, that is to say, within 7 minutes.
Agreed, Holmes. But does this really prove that our killer had the time to perpetrate these two murders?
Let's look at our timeline, Watson. There, Watson. We are now certain that the murderer really had the time to commit these two murders.
Incredible.
Yep. Let's look at our deduction board, Watson.
Indeed. All right. Okay. First off, I'm going back to first person. All right. Now we have a lot of information we can do here. And I think after we figure out all this deduction, we will be calling it a day. Okay, let's see, the wound. Okay, there's the wound. It goes from right, left, and blow is fierce and instantaneous. And the wound was the same as L stride. Yes, okay. Central incision. Well, let's see. We know that this goes down here. Okay, and central incision. Alright. The murderer is right-handed. Right, the same as Liz Stride. Same. Yep. Whew. Alright, let's get this other item here. Yeah, I'd say he's feeling unorganized. Whew. Alright. Now we have the items here, meant for a woman. And the thimble's the right hand, or right beside, so, oh, okay. So she obviously had the thimble in her hand. It belonged to the victim. It must have searched her. Okay. And small incisions. Removed, yeah. Nose was cut. Slash the cheeks to make them. Wow, why do that? That makes no sense. But it does say that he knew
this
anatomy.
This is making me nauseous. Can we not head back, Holmes?
We certainly can't, Watson. We have one final point to address. Do you remember the piece of white apron that was missing just now? It was found just a few steps away from here, at the entrance of a building. That's where we must go.
Found it. Lost in the street. Okay.
Let's go.
Found nearby, alright. Let's find that apron.
There's the spot, Watson. By night, Goulston Street is deathly silent, which will permit us to carry out a fair few experiments. Let's find the entrance where the piece of the victim's apron and the mysterious chalk message were found.
I'll tell you what, we will hunt that down next time. We will continue the investigation then. As always, this is Rich Kale here on YouTube, Rich Gen X elsewhere, and Richard of the Classic Gamers Guild. If you enjoy taking part in watching this mystery unfold, I recommend that you check out the rest of the parts on this channel. And hopefully we will find out more in due time. Now, until next time, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, check out some of the other playthroughs I'm doing. I'm doing a playthrough of the original Tomb Raider, at least at the time of this recording, and as well as Riven and some more modern games too in the process. Take care, and have a good day. Bye-bye.